it. So a $600 pension 10, 15 years ago won't buy much of anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
RTD Live Talk. We're live Tuesday night, the 21st day of the month of May. And tonight's going to be interesting because I have a couple of thoughts I want to share in relation to the title of this video. And so especially just having a lot of time to think today after having had a great interview with Mr. Gregory Mannarino, got me to think about a lot of interesting things, and it has to do with those words that are linked to this video here and how it will impact us and future generations. So with that being the case, before I dive any further, I want to welcome those to the channel. My name is Mike, the host of RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. There's a number above my head, 313-462-0027 for you to call in and to join the talk. And more importantly, if we have any new viewers, in the chat right here next to me, there is a chat box. I would like to know where you're watching from so I can give you a quick little shout out for this evening's chat. But more importantly, it won't be long, but just want to share some thoughts and also find out whatever else is happening out there that I probably wasn't able to get to today via news stories or whatnot. So with that being the case, welcome. Welcome. What's going on? Let me see who's checking in thus far. Spirit, how you doing, my friend? Scott is in the building. We got Moorish Prince. Yo. We got Crypto Monk in the building. Hernan, how you doing? So, I appreciate you guys for spending some time with us this evening, as well as those that are out there that may not be bold enough to share where they're located from, or even their name for that matter. Appreciate you anyway. We got Linda from California, DD Prepper from NC. We got Kenneth, Jeff, how you doing? From Monterrey, Mexico. Hernan from Mexico. Appreciate you tuning in, my friend. So, thought I want to share with you guys that I think relates to all of us because it has to do with current events, and we're halfway, not even halfway through the year 2019, and from the very first month of this year. For those that have been around long enough, Dan from Cleveland, how you doing? Belmain 15, Fresno in the building. It has to do with the current state of our economy, the real economy, not the economy that, CNN, Fox, all those news stations want us to believe is current. Because more and more, for those that are aware and in tune with what's going on, you can't continue to see all these stories, especially me, especially as you guys, which I appreciate those that shoot me emails or comment in the chats and share articles with me about what's really going on in the employment sector. And so I'm really concerned because I don't think people really understand how this is all tied into what I've probably come to label as the beginning of the reset. And so I remember talking in prior months, years even, about how will this thing unravel. And given that our current administration is the right guy for the job because he's a disruptor, he's a off-the-cuff social media guy who just wings it with what appears to be no thought behind it. But I'm starting to put some links together to really think that this trade situation that we're in the midst of is the beginning of the reset, because I believe it has to do with the reshifting of global economic, monetary, and political restructuring away from the Eastern Hemisphere into more of what might be considered as China wants to call it, a more equal and more dispersed power system, or structure rather. I'm really thinking that this tit-for-tatness of these tariffs, which are technically taxes or additional cost that will be transferred to those that actually go out and purchase those goods, if we go out and purchase them still, it's ultimately just increasing the cost of goods and services for us as consumers. But what most people don't really take into consideration, of which we're going to start feeling it, and some people are feeling it now, and it has to do with employment. The reset, in my opinion, and this is where I'm going to start this off with, has to do with the restructuring of the economic order, and it starts with employment. And given the fact that here in this country, with the United States of America, we consume our GDP, and our overall livelihood as a nation comes about based upon consumption. And so if we don't consume, therefore companies aren't profitable. If companies aren't profitable, then that will cut into employment, and then there goes our economy. So the title of this little subject matter, to start us off with, is No Profitability, No Employment, No Economy. And so from the article I did earlier, or shared earlier, about 650 store closures, which equates to 6,800 employees will be laid off. And what concerns me most is the fact that those 6,800 employees, I would imagine, are people who are uneducated all the way to those that have masters. And they did everything that they were told to do. They did everything that they thought and believe is responsible on their part to provide for their family, to live, to do everything that they've been instructed to do. And they probably had no clue that the owner of that chain, Ascensa Retail Group, has been very irresponsible in managing that particular chain there, to where those 6,800 people are now casualties of a system and of a corporation that's publicly listed on the New York Stock Exchange and everything else. Their share at this current moment, as I saw a moment ago, is $1 and some change for Ascensa Retail Group, whoever they are. Apart from hearing about Dress Barnes today, I had no idea who they are. But this plays into even more of some things that's been on my mind, because here in front of me, I have a, what is it called? This is an annual report for a major investment firm. And this firm here incorporates all of the corporations in their own market index funds. And yeah, let me get this call, but I got some things I want to share with you. So I missed the call. But I was thumbing through this booklet, and there, every single corporation that's listed on as a publicly traded company is in this book. And I was thumbing through some of these pages here, and what I couldn't help but notice was the very first page in the contents of this annual report has to do with, this is about investment. And this plays into the lack of profitability of companies, which impacts employment, which impacts people's investments. And so at the very bottom of this page here, it says, and it's in bold writing, it says, for a complete list of fund portfolios, holdings, view the most recent holdings listed, whatever. So this is their little summary annual report of all their financial books. I went through it, wasn't really impressed. It says, bold, not FDIC insured, may lose value, no bank guarantee. So right there at the very bottom of this, it disclaims to the investors who the risk falls upon if you are participating in this particular index fund. And it says no FDIC insured, may lose value, and there's no guarantees. And I'm thinking like, man, so here we have companies that are not profitable, that's laying people off. And so the shareholders are the primary reason corporations are publicly listed, because they have to impress them. And I'm thinking like, man, who's the most vulnerable out of all of this? It's the employees. And I'm thinking like, your employer, at the end of the day, is not your friend. Your employer you're only as good to your employer as their ability to utilize your time and services and energy to be profitable. And if they're not profitable, you are of no use to them. So therefore, your job is expendable. Therefore, your livelihood is at risk. And so, yeah, I'm probably going a little too deep. I'm getting too deep. I'm rambling. I'm getting too deep. Let me stop because this really got me roused up this afternoon. And so let me slow down a little bit and welcome people back to the chat. I apologize. Forgive me. I get carried away. It's just, yeah. I'm going to leave it at that. Clint Eastwood, how you doing? John, we got John in the building. We got Esther Wade from New York. We got Sky Country. Dress burn layoffs. Yeah, very unfortunate. 6,800 people didn't see it coming, more than likely. And I would imagine, out of that 6,800, a good portion of those individuals fall into the category of not having 500 saved and all that stuff that we hear about in the real economy. But here I go again about the rant. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Hi there. Hello? Are we there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi there. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Nadia. I'm calling from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
All righty. Appreciate you calling. And let me cut the speaker up a little bit because it's kind of low on my end. But I'll do the best I can. So what's in your mind this evening?
So the one thing that is really on my mind that's very, very crucial to me is I right now am a millennial, and I right now I'm working for a company. I'm very fortunate to be able to work in the country with my job. A person like me is still scared when it comes to job security, and I also have parents who are kind of expecting me to look after them. Like, what kind of, I guess, advice would you give to someone like me? I know I definitely have an advantage being that I already work from home. I work online, so I could pick up, an online side hustle, maybe as a virtual assistant or doing something else. But I'm just trying to figure out how I can reason with my parents, because my parents come from a generation of you get your education, you go to school, and then you're supposed to be the person who's there to kind of look after us in our old age. And I'm looking at the way the world is working. I just don't see how I'm going to be able to actually do all of those things. Right. And I'm 29, but I just can't foresee how I would be able to do that. There just seems to be a big generational gap. Like, what kind of advice would you give to someone like me? Hopefully my question is not too loaded.
No, that's a great question, because I believe you're not the only one. And so I believe, I kind of fall in that same category as well, as far as being an individual that currently involved in that now. And so, for my family, as a grandson, as well as a couple other grandchildren, we've kind of began taking on some responsibilities for our grandmother, because her children, which are my mom, my family, my uncles and aunties, they are not in a position themselves at this current moment to help out. Therefore, the grandchildren are kind of in that same situation now, to where as a son to my mom, I am aware of that, and I'm very conscious of the responsibilities that might be shifted upon me and my brothers. So I tell my mom all the time, like, Mom, you know what I do, you know what I talk about, you know what's going on. I need you. I need your help, because at this current moment, apart from setting aside some crumbs here and there in hopes of her not necessarily needing it, but realizing that she's not in a position to really do much at this point in her life. So beyond saving a little bit of something extra, you may not be able to completely help out in the capacity that prior generations were able to do so, because as you mentioned, you're young, and so you have responsibilities, and I'm sure you would like to one day start a family and begin the process of living your life. And so apart from sharing with your parents as best you can, setting aside some crumbs that can help them, I don't think that you can save them and carry on that tradition that a lot of us probably were hoping to be able to do, unless you're financially able to or whatever. But I imagine the millennial generation, they're definitely not as blessed to have the type of employment, the type of opportunities to save and invest as the baby boomers and other generations have. So that being the case, my opinion based upon what I'm currently experiencing now, educating my mom, my dad definitely knows, and aunties and uncles, they know what's coming. And it's that saying of, it's never too late. It's too late to, it's never, I forgot whatever saying it is, but they know. So I'm telling them to set a little something aside. So I personally help my mom strategize on how to set some things aside, just as an insurance policy, just to help her out, hoping she don't need it. But if she do, her son is helping her. And then on top of that, I have to still live my life. And in regards to job security, that's going to play into my little spiel prior to, is that there's no such thing as job security now when our livelihoods are based upon this current economy. And this economy is not in our favor because of all this stuff. As I mentioned, the possible reset, where employment being the first line of things impacted by this trade situation. So there's no such thing as job security, in my opinion. Therefore, every little bit of crumbs you get or whatever you have now, we have to utilize it to the best of our advantage to get the most bang for our buck today. Because tomorrow, next week, next month, next year are all questionable in relation to events that are occurring that are outside of our control. So what can you control today is basically whatever crumbs you get on Fridays or whenever, put it to use in the best way you can according to what you believe will help you, your family, and your future. And that's it. And that's pretty much the only thing you can do practically that could possibly put you at a better position than your peers that are probably asleep at the wheel right now. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes, absolutely. That does. Do we have time for another question, or do you need to get to the next
Nope,
caller?
you can go ahead. Feel free, because I mean, these questions I believe everyone has or will have. So I'm assuming this will definitely help a lot of people, hopefully. And this is all opinion based, of course. This is not a, you know what I'm saying, I'm just a person with an opinion. But go ahead, ask your question.
Okay, the other question that I have, I come from an immigrant family, and some of my relatives have decided to go back over to Africa because, you know, they can't take the heat of, you know, the economy here and the jobs and the insecurity, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of them have went back. The thing is, they're obviously going back after being here a long time. They're going back with their skills, and a lot of them are going to the more developed African countries, and they just kind of fall, from what I see, they fall right into the middle class. Do you think that's a good strategy? Because I would think that, okay, with America being what it is, I mean, all of us can't just go and move overseas for a better quality of life. Eventually, things will begin to crumble elsewhere. So do you think that that's even a good strategy for some people to save their money, build up some skills, and then just go and move to Ghana or a better part of Mexico or a better part of Brazil? Because I feel like eventually things may just collapse over there. And I already have a few cousins who have done it, and it looks really tempting, but I always kind of have to ask myself, well, how many of us can just get up and move there before things become out of control over there?
Right. And so, great question. And once again, I'm in alignment with that because I, either through having people ask those type of questions before or myself, you know, I love to travel. So when I have some things in line where I'm going to do this upcoming couple months in reference to going and just exploring things of that nature. But yet, at the end of the day, I don't think it's not necessarily an escape, or there's no getting away from a total global shift of power, which will affect all governments, all currencies, all social, geopolitical, everything will be impacted by the events currently underway, because there's no country that's immune from this trade situation and all the things that come along with that. So leaving here to go there might start off good. It might appear to be well on the surface. But once again, if you're in a country that is not necessarily first world and you are of a person of means, more than likely you'll stand out. And so if you're in another area, they know you're not purebred Guyanan or Nigerian or whatever. So they know that you're not full-blown, whatever. You're not a citizen, more likely. So you'll probably be a target eventually if things get to the point where, you know, they're struggling even more so, but you're comfortable and you're driving a nice, so I can imagine that being a problem. And so I've heard people mention about being able to go abroad and be able to stay home. I don't think there's one strategy that works for any person outright. It's more so whatever you feel led to do, whatever God puts in your heart to do, because I think eventually all this will boil down to being at the right place in the right time. And I don't think it's something we can plan outright. I think plans will definitely be changed or altered if they're not done with, this once again is a spiritual aspect. If they're not led spiritually, you can put yourself in a very bad position, hoping and thinking that it's right, but yet it not be the right thing for you to do personally. So what your friends might do, it might work out, but for you, God may have something else, as well as me and everybody else. So so it's one of the things where you'll find out after the fact, but yet it's one of the things where everybody's case is different. I personally, having traveled, love to travel, and have made friendships around the world or whatever, I'm always welcome to those places, but there's no place like home at the end of the day for me, as of now, unless something change. So if that helps whatsoever, but everybody's situation is different. I mean, I would say it's one of the things you got to pray on and see what God puts in your heart to do at the end of the day.
No problem. Understood. Thank you for answering my
Appreciate
question,
you for the questions. I definitely is in alignment with where I was going this evening. So I thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. Yeah, man. That's great questions. Great questions, because I personally, those are all things that I think about, and definitely I imagine some of you guys as well. So feel free to call in. Phone lines are open, and couldn't answer a couple calls, and so. And if someone's on the phone, more than likely I won't be able to get to you. So feel free to call in once we hang up. So with that being the case, let me get back to the chat. And let me see here. So from Jeff, I see something from Jeff, and that means it's going to be something interesting. So Jeff, I haven't forgotten you. Let me go ahead and click on this link, man, and see what you're doing to us tonight. Jeff, it'd be good to get some good news every now and then. Your boy could use some good news every blue moon. But I appreciate you for thinking about us. So we got an article right here, and we got a call at the same time. So let me get this call, and then we'll get to this question. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh, my name is Patrick, and I'm calling from Loudoun County, Virginia. It's good to have a chat with you.
Patrick from Virginia. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind this evening?
Well, honestly, just these cryptocurrency gains, and of course the fact that John McAfee gave us an honorable mention this morning for our KPC project.
Yeah.
Have you been in the loop?
Yeah. So yeah, of course. I mean, I've had a couple people text me, and so I saw a couple retweets or whatnot. So that's definitely a good endorsement. Even though John McAfee, he's been one of those guys as of late. He's put himself in a very tough situation with his with his current rants about where prices are going. So a lot of people are waiting on him to live up to his promise if that Bitcoin price goes to where he said it's going to go, and what he's going to do if it does.
It's simple mathematics, He's saying 1 million, or he's going to eat his dick. It's just the way it is. So,
I'm kind of like, I hope. He's an older gentleman. He always brags about he ain't got much life left, but I hope it doesn't. I will forgive him if he reneged on our promise, put it like that. But yeah, man. So
go
ahead.
It's a matter of mathematics, because we're currently in a $9 trillion corporate debt bubble, and the U.S. federal government is in a $22 trillion debt bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of which, there's a global derivatives market of about $560 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of government stockpiling this shit, and just like trying to back their own cryptocurrencies behind that's going to be, fungible, and it will just sync up directly with the smartphones of people today because of the cashless society advent that's currently underway. So.
Yeah. So I agree 100% as far as as an escape valve out of this old system that's crumbling, which is all interconnected with this economy and stuff I'm talking about tonight. All the people who are able to get out of the system before it completely goes under or there's a freeze or a halt or a straight up basically just assets are seized. prices of cryptocurrencies, all alternative, anything that's considered alternative that has any type of similarities of the principles of money and currency will go up in value. It has to, because everything that is in scarcity will be utilized as an escape valve, and every single unit of currency in creation will be accounted for in terms of the price of goods and services. So it's no doubt it's a no-brainer to me, but some people find it very hard to believe that cryptocurrencies or whatever could be utilized that way. But it's just the easiest method that we're being encouraged to utilize. So it has to happen, in my opinion.
Oh, wholeheartedly, I agree. And also, this is going to affect the price of gold. There's some economists that are calling for $50,000 per ounce eventually, once shit hits the fan, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time, in my opinion. It's going to be a safety. It's practically insurance at that point.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's only about 200,000 metric tons worth of gold that's ever been mined in the world. So it's a very rare metal, and it's been known as money throughout the history of humanity. So it's just a matter of perspective, wholeheartedly. And I know you probably have some cash gold, so you understand how that's going to tie into the blockchain and whatnot with the holographic technology.
Yeah.
So
I do 100%. And actually, I got some stuff laying around somewhere, but yeah. So yeah, I'm aware of it. So the biggest thing is majority of people who are currently, in this situation of feeling comfortable because everything is going smoothly for them, they're not in the know. So it's a matter of helping people understand that things are changing and things will change for you regardless as to whether you see it or believe it or not. And it has to do with employment. Because as I started this off tonight, because of a lack of profitability, because of all this trade stuff, everybody's job, if you are employed, you are at risk. So therefore, you're going to be open and receptive at that point. But why wait to then to be open to opportunities out there and diversifying your income streams and everything else? So yeah, I just wish more people would be open to looking at things as opposed to just being like, no, my life is good, everything is great. We'll see how that goes in a couple of months, couple of years. So yeah,
absolutely. And it's all about adapting to the times because, of course, nothing lasts forever. For instance, so many bankruptcies that are being filed today. Like Kona Grill recently went under. Dress Barn is closing doors, as you made a video about.
Yeah.
And even Ford, they're laying off people because they have to practically account for profits to their shareholders.
Yeah.
It seems big government is almost the only racket in town, and our economy is currently monopolized by Amazon through, big tech sector as well. Did you hear that Amazon has the patent to blockchain technology now, proof of work?
Proof of work, yeah, proof of work cryptography. Yeah, I saw that, and so I'm thinking that's kind of interesting that they are patenting something that's already in existence. So I'm assuming they have to have something unique about that particular angle that they're able to get a patent on it to make it there. So Amazon is sitting on something that they're going to roll out that will definitely change the game, I'm sure. And it's going to put more of a pinch on other retailers that are already struggling because they're not being innovative enough at the time where their very existence is on the line. So, yeah.
Oh, totally. I agree. Did you hear about Craig Wright being known as, practically, I'd say, crowned Satoshi Nakamoto by the Copyright Office?
I saw an article referencing that, but I didn't dive into it because whether he is or isn't, it doesn't matter. I don't think. And my thing is, why would you want that? Why would you want that on your shoulders to be labeled as the guy that started all this or something like that? Like, I think something's fishy with that because, yeah, with that type of awareness brings some type of responsibility for him that he's going to be looked at as a person that can change things, shake stuff up, or I think that's a little questionable. But yet, whether he did or didn't, it doesn't matter because it's here, and I like the things that's been done outside of it that makes it interesting to me because it's here and it's not going anywhere. It will be utilized, so either you adjust and get used to it, or you'll be left behind. Either one.
Oh, wholeheartedly, I agree. I think it's a matter of him wanting to have the reign of, practically being able to predict what happens to the market, because he currently has his own projects. You know, I believe it's called Cash Satoshi's Vision, where there's supposed to have larger blocks, and it's practically just ran by his own mining operation. So there's a major capital played into this. His coin pumped up 100% on the cusp of this news.
Yeah, the SV.
So,
I saw that. I heard that. Yeah, and that's concerning because of this, you know, having his own mining block, as you mentioned. Like, you know, that's a consolidation of a lot of power there. And typically, when a lot of power is consolidated into the hands of the few, it doesn't really turn out to be beneficial for the majority. So it will be manipulated and problematic, and therefore, I just see more problems coming about with this information here than good for the overall community of those that think cryptocurrency is going to be a libertarian freedom type of movement, because if it's in the control of a few, then that means the majority of people are at risk of losing out on a lot of value based upon what they want. So
exactly,
and
it makes it some oligarchy again. You know, like we have with the Federal Reserve currently. And honestly, it forth a lot of drama, this news. And it's so sad to see that Bloomberg and a lot of the major institutions are running with this narrative. It's a little absurd that this man's going on television spouting his own ego as Satoshi Nakamoto. So
I agree, man. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you calling and sharing your thoughts as always. It's good to hear your voice, boss, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, likewise. It's a pleasure. Take care.
Be good. Yeah, man. Good stuff. Appreciate you calling in and sharing your thoughts. Appreciate you for sharing your thoughts. Let's get to this article real quick. And as always, for those that have a question or whatnot, feel free to reach back out to me. So let me get rid of this ad. I mean, who wants this damn ad right here? I don't want this ad and stuff. It's funny, the ad don't move, but the title does. But it says China tariffs could trigger one of the biggest waves of store closures the U.S. has ever seen, sparking the second coming of the retail apocalypse. So this is as of 4 hours ago. Everything must go. So this plays right back into what I was talking about, man. Like the young lady who called in mentioned about, you know, just use the words job and security together. Those words to me are this tariff situation are spreading those words out very far. To where, you know, we see stuff like this. Higher tariffs on Chinese goods could force 12,000 store closures within a year. And so I also heard a news reporter talk about if Trump decides to impose tariffs on the remaining $300 billion worth of goods, how that right there will be a game changer, because it's going to impact shoes, sporting goods, everything else that's not being touched now will be touched. And here's the thing, and this is where this all boils down to. There is no winner in the trade war, because we run a deficit by design, because all our manufacturing base was hollowed out and sent over there so that we can then become a consuming nation. So think about this. If we get all of our value and our entertainment and fun and all that stuff we have now based upon consumption with very little production, how can we balance that out and produce when there's no infrastructure anymore to produce? So this whole idea of a trade war tariff situation is all a part. As I started this off tonight, it's the first step in this global economic reset that is being done, and I believe Trump is overseeing it, because this is just the ideal thing for him as a president / CEO / bankrupt / guy that he is, to be in charge of all this. And I think it's needed, of course. Don't get me wrong. Like it's this whole restructuring process is needed, but it's going to be painful as hell, because it ultimately will then all lead back to the national currency, the Federal Reserve note, and that's going to be as this video came on, I said it's going to be the biggest financial liability of our lifetime. Because once again, everything is denominated in dollars. So if no one wants dollars, no one's buying goods. Eventually, you're going to have to change the medium of exchange that goods and services will be sold in if people lose confidence in it. So yeah, that's very unfortunate. But everything, boy, this, I think I'm gonna stop it there. I think I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm sold that this tariff so-called tariff war or this idea of balanced trade is step one in the restructuring process, because these tariffs will definitely expose the fact that most of these corporations. So this, for me, for those that are just tuning in, I'm not even sure how many people are even here. Could we just be talking to myself? So how many other people are here? I went through this perspective, not a perspective, but this is the annual report. I'm not going to tell you for which company, because I don't want to put their business out there like that, because you might be invested in this. But this is a nice thick page. This is a prospectus at the very back. This is the annual report. How many pages? This is 120 reports repeat. 120 reports report of every corporation that's listed as a publicly traded company, that 403Bs, 401Ks, IRAs, everybody got a little piece of this. And I'm thinking, like, I'm looking through some of these companies. I'm looking through some of these companies here, and I'm like, who the hell is this? Like, what purpose do they serve? And are they being good stewards over their employees' livelihoods? And the chance of them doing that, according to the 6,800 people that just probably got a email or something just recently, and the 7,000 Ford employees. So 7,000 I reported on yesterday, 6,800 today. That's 13,800 people just in 2 days that were brought to the realization that their employer is not their friend. They go to work because they're delivering a service, and once either the company is irresponsible or events around them that's happens to come back to affect the profitability of the corporations, they're going to find out how valuable they are to the corporation. And from 13,800 people, they're realizing that maybe they're not as valuable as they would have liked or thought they were. And then you factor in, everybody was taught and told and encouraged that in order to be successful, in order to make it in this life, you have to have reached a certain level of education. So you think about all those 13,800 people that might have student loan debts, that went back to school to better themselves according to what they were told, never really been aware of the total hocus pocus of this monetary system and all the things that will impact them whether they know it or not. So 13,000 people, more than likely, probably had no clue of how the tariff / just the slowdown prior to this whole tariff situation, which has been underway for a year now, has really come into play. Then we factor in, it hasn't even started yet. Like, out of all these corporations here, I don't know how many, I was thumbing through some of them, in different sectors, different industries. There's a total of $59 billion in this portfolio of assets that people are investing. So $59 billion is inside of here, of which most of these corporations you don't even know about, I don't know about, but yet we own a piece of the market fund index that these people are selling. And these companies here, I'm thinking like, yeah, like, are they even needed anymore? But yet, say if this is 1,000, I know the number. If there's 1,000 companies in here, I saw how many companies were listed. But say if there's 1,000 companies listed in here that are publicly traded companies, just like the one I started off talking about, Massengill Retail Group, that's worth $1 right now. We got JCPenney, we got Kohl's, we got TJ Maxx. All those companies, I watched their stock prices drop retail, but it's one of them things where we're finding out whether or not they're needed. And they're not needed, because if people aren't buying, if people aren't consuming, then are they really needed? So at the end of the day, the credit bubble is coming to an end. The debt cycle is coming to an end because we were led to this point of being solely a consumer nation. And I would imagine that the people who brought us to this point, they're long gone, dead, or whatever. So we have people in place now who don't even know how to manage part of their own household, nevertheless talk about running our country, coming up with strategies and solutions on how to get this thing done, and it's too late. But I'm rambling. Forgive me. Let me get back to some questions, man. I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh, man. I got a lot of questions over here that I might not be able to get to. And I might not be able to get to anything. So forgive me if I don't answer your question. So let me try to pull off some questions. So highlight, if you have something you want to share with me or have me comment on, highlight at my name so I know it's for me. Automation is on the rise. Layoffs are on the rise. BTC will be between 40 and 50,000 by the end of the year. I don't doubt it. No more like 100,000. So who gets algos? Just get Twitter. So yeah, so that's another thing I can touch on because, yeah. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey man, it's Q from Chicago. What's going on with you, man?
Q from Chicago. Oh, 1 second. Sorry about that. Q, what's on your mind? My bad.
Hey, no worries, man. Hey man, I just got a question for you.
Yeah.
Two things actually. The first one is, did you see the article about all of the automobiles that are beginning to pop up all the parking lots across America?
No. This was so it's just like, let me see. 1 second. Yeah. I did not see it, but shine some light on it for me because I'm scared to try to pop it up because someone might call in and I got to exit out real quick. But what were some of the highlights of it?
So basically, they were people across the country have been noticing that these auto manufacturers are buying up old factories, old parking lots, and they are dumping their automobiles on it. More specifically, the luxury brands, so Mercedes, Porsche, those brand Audis. You just have all these vehicles that are sitting in empty parking lots, and these parking lots are filling up quickly. So, the people started to inquire about it and say, hey, why do we have all these automobiles just sitting here? And the auto manufacturers came out and said, this is just a temporary bottleneck issue. We have the newer, basically they give us this, they were given the runaround, but, across the country, even with Tesla, auto manufacturing, I guess maybe because the channels are full now, they're buying parking lots, empty warehouses and parking their vehicles there.
I'm not surprised, man, because mind you, I'm in the Motor City, so I drive past a warehouse, a tier 1, tier 2 supplier all the time, and I see cars and test cars everywhere because I feel like I'm in the middle of the big three in a sense because everything is something around me somewhere, and so I see these lots you're referring to, and I've always noticed a large amount of cars, but I haven't noticed them just sitting for a longer period of time. But here's my question. At this current moment, apart from people who are able to, how many people are really going to be willing to finance a vehicle right now, especially a car that's brand new off the lot, 50, 60, 70,000, everyone's situation is different, but yeah, that 50, 60, 70,000 is gone as soon as you drive off the lot, man. Like the depreciation is gone. So I think people's interests are changing now. I think people are becoming a little bit more practical, being willing to buy used because there's a lot of great used cars out here, or just stick with what you got. So, yeah. So where are those cars going to go, man? They're going to be on clearance pretty soon because they're going to have to do something with them, I believe.
Well, I mean, it goes back to that thing. I asked you about. It's just kind of one of those things, Mike, where it's like. My parents' generation, for example. So my mother, when I told her, my mother is very fortunate enough to be inside of a company that still offers a pension, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, her last CEO, basically he retired at 55 and drew his full pension. So my mother, in her thinking, believes that she says, okay, after another year and a half, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to retire, I'm going to take my full retirement from my company, her pension, and she said, I'm going to go and I'm going to invest it. So I looked at my mother, I said, well, Mom, what happens if your retirement isn't there? But she seems to be unable to understand that, her retirement could disappear with the company. Mm-hmm. And even in her own estimation, the company is basically has been reducing people and they're giving up to sell its stuff to, the highest bidder. So, it's like our parents, the baby boomers, the millennials, the Zers, whatever you want to call it. It's like we continue to walk towards this stuff, but then eventually when we hit the brick wall, we're going to look back and the only thing that we're going to be able to see is the corpses or basically all these vehicles, all these things. So again, I have to ask the question again, what do we do with all this stuff And then when we have all this stuff, what do we do when there's a declining population? And then what do we do with all this stuff when there's no more auto manufacturers around, because we have more automobiles in the world than we have with people who know what to do with them?
Yeah. Q, as always, man, you ask a very good question, of which there's no one answer, a right answer. It's more so like, man, we're going to find out A, but B, it's one of the things where in regards to your mom's pension situation and the fact you mentioned they're looking to sell the company, I've either heard stories, and there's a movie. Watch this, and this might be something that was entertaining, but it hit me hard because I study this stuff all the time. But it has the three older men that they worked for a warehouse in Pennsylvania or something. It was Morgan Freeman, and two other like well-known actors, and they end up doing a hit job. Like, so their company went out of business. Their company was sold. Therefore, their pensions was liquidated or whatever. But it was a company that was very entertaining and interesting story because of they lost it all, and they had to go out the streets and do some dirty stuff. Whatever. It worked out for them in the movie, but it's one of the things where it might be something that might be eye-opening for your mom in regards to the company being bought out and what happens with that. But as far as those cars and all that stuff like that, man, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I'd imagine, I would like to say that people might be driving good, but I don't think with gas prices and the fact that I would imagine, as opposed to letting people drive off the lot with a Mercedes-Benz for nothing, they'll probably destroy the damn thing. They're probably sinking at the bottom of the ocean just so the population, just so that the brand name is not worn down by so many, so that because everybody now has Benzes because they got an oversupply, they'll destroy them. Just so they can keep a little bit of a legacy with that brand, so that in the next economy they can come out with the flying model, and it'll be, you see what I'm saying, something like that, just talking off the cuff, but that's how crazy stuff might be.
Come out with the flying model.
Yeah, when they come out the flying model, who gonna want the ground model?
1.0.
Hey, man. But
last thing, and then I'll just see what you. Would you like me to give? Because the last call, we were supposed to talk about Iran, but I think everybody was kind of hit the van.
Yeah.
On that last one. So would you like me to give a quick assessment on that situation?
Yeah, go ahead, please do.
Okay, so for the people who don't know or who are hip, China is involved inside of Syria. So the armies of Gog and Magog are in the Middle East right now. With Iran, what was going on with Iran, I think a lot of people got misunderstood and said that the Western media was the one who ran with that story, when actually that story came out from a small outfit that's it's a pro-Hezbollah outfit. So the story came out of the Middle East first, quote unquote, the Middle East first, before it actually ran inside the West. So it looks like Iran actually is doing something, but to what extent, we really don't know, because we don't have a lot of eyes on it. So I think a lot of, when I was growing up as a child, one of the things that really shook the church was that, in the end time prophecy, they said that the country that was not mentioned was the United States. And, growing up as a child, we would always speculate, what would be the thing that would drive the United States or would make the United States irrelevant. And they said, well, we always knew it was the economy, but we didn't know exactly, what it would be about, or, what would drive America to that point. So now, looking back as a child, I can see that, oh, maybe we were right. It was the economy, because we look at our economy, now, I don't, as far as, with Iran, I don't think right now the United States, we have the power to stop them, because, when you look at the reports that are coming out, you have all kind of drone attacks happening. You have Hamas, not Hamas, that's the wrong, yeah, is it Hamas?
Hamas?
Gaza Strip, yeah, Hamas that's basically been shelling Israel deeper and deeper inside of Israel. You got to ask the question where they get those rockets from, where they get all this technology from. So that's my small assessment, man.
Yeah. Hey, man. Yeah. And so in reference to that about the Bible or United States of America, or this particular piece of land we're on now, not necessarily been referenced. And so I would also imagine that during those biblical times, as far as the geography aspect of it, this part of the globe or whatever people might want to say, flat earth or whatever, you know, may not have been named or mentioned because most of the activity took place in that region there. So I'm not even sure offhand of what's the farthest distance recorded in the Bible according to what we know now as far as geographical location. So I don't even know how this continent or this piece of land would have fared as far as it being a new discovery. It wasn't new. It was new to the Europeans, but it wasn't new to the, you know, to the indigenous people who were already here. But yes, I don't know how that plays out. But in regards to the economy, according to Revelations, we all know that there will be one medium of exchange that everybody must do business with and have in their body, whatever, the market of the beast, whatever. So we all know that this economy can't last forever because this is not one particular economy we're in. We're globally connected amongst different governmental structures. So in the end, regardless of the bodies of land, there's going to be one primary medium of exchange, whatever that might be, of which I doubt it. I doubt it's led by the Federal Reserve directly. It'll probably be all of them united in the Middle Eastern Europe area with the Antichrist and all that stuff like that. So, yeah, from a biblical standpoint, that's what I think might go down, according to what we're told. So,
well, man, let's just see what it is. Let's see what it is. I will say this, though. I don't think the United States will be able to protect Israel this next come around. I think, we don't. Israel's on their own, bro.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. And I think that, of course, on a good note, is all this is written, is already known. So there's no surprises if you're, a believer in Christ and in Christ. So be of good cheer, my friend. I'm leaving it at that, Q. Be of good cheer. All right, buddy. Be good. Yep. All right, man. So that's all she wrote this evening. It is about a 51-minute piece. And so I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And so what I wanted to do, I figured I'd do it tonight. I was actually talking to somebody earlier about some things I have going on and just creating opportunities and avenues for people to take advantage of. So right here in front of me, if you guys can see that. Yeah, there you go, right there. Let me get this in front of you. So right here in front of you, I have the very first of its kind. I'm trying to straighten it up. The very first of its kind, the RTD coin. So it's a 1 ounce hand poured coin that's stamped. So this is the very first coin off the line. So it's a limited edition set. I'm working on the details now, but it's the very image on my shirt here, and it's hand poured. So no coin is alike. So this is just something I'm putting out there. So more information for you guys if those are interested, because it is limited edition. And so once they sell out, they're all gone, but I made sure they're scarce. So there'll be nothing like it. No two coins are alike because it's hand poured and stamped individually. So it's 0.995, 4 nines, 1 ounce. It's handcrafted. It's a beauty. This is the very first one with the authentic certification of authenticity come with it. So for those that are interested, stay tuned. Definitely, it will be interesting. So want to help you guys diversify and put some weight in your pocket. So what better way to do it than with the RTD coin directly? So so more news will come on that, and we'll go from there. But other than that, people, it's been great hanging out this evening. We'll stay in tune, stay in touch. As always, if anything comes out, feel free to let me know in the chat or shoot me an email, as you guys have done. I appreciate that. And if I can get to the stories, I'll get to it. But other than that, people, be blessed, be safe, and I'll see you guys on another day. Peace.